When most Indians think about Northeast India, one assumption often comes to mind. Women have more freedom there. And in many cases, that's true. Women are more visible in public life. They run businesses. They dominate local market. They have high literacy rates. And compared to many parts of mainland India, Northeast women often enjoy greater social mobility. Because of this, many outsiders automatically assume that societies across Northeast India are matriarchal. But is that really true? Today we are going to examine one fascinating case, the state of Mizoram, a state often praised for its progressive society. Yet, we closely examine its property law and inheritance system, a different story emerges. A story that reveals how legal rights and social visibility are not always the same thing. Let me say this very clearly. We have made many videos on Mizoram before, and we do not want to insult the state, its culture or its people. We are only talking about this particular bill and the discussion around it. Please do not hate us for having a different opinion. Our goal is not to damage the image of Mizoram or its beautiful culture. We have always appreciated and shared many positive stories about this state. Some of our views may be different from yours, and some points may not agree with everyone. If that happens, we ask for your understanding. It is okay to disagree, but let us continue to respect each other. Continuing, according to the academic paper exploring the Mizo women's property and inheritance right by Lalrinsangi, Nghinglova and Khasi Lalthlamuani, I'm sorry for the pronunciation. The Mizo society has historically been deeply patriarchal despite the strong presence of women. So in this video, we'll uncover some topics. Why Mizoram is often being misunderstood as a matriarchal society, how traditional Mizo customary laws denied women property rights, the revolutionary changes introduced in 2014, and why many scholars still argue that system remains male dominated. Let's start. Welcome to Inequality. Before we proceed, I need you a few seconds. I built an AI travel agent. Unlike ChatGPT or Gemini, this one actually works for travelers. It creates your full trip plan with device itinerary, break down your budget, compares flight prices, and lets you download, share, get your plan on email as PDF. You can add your friends, create a squad, vote on destination, and chat about the trip together. And when you are done, split the cost automatically. You can also plan your everyday on dditro.com. And on Driftboard, connect with fellow travelers, find travel partners, and share your experiences. Travel calendar, trip analytics, and a lot more. Go give it a try. driftditro.com. Again, this is based on the Exploring the Mizo Women's Property and Inheritance paper. Please don't mistake. One of the biggest misconceptions about Northeast India is that all societies there are matriarchal. This belief largely comes from communities like Khasi and Garo, mainly Khasi of Meghalaya, where traditionally passed through women. But Northeast India is incredibly diverse. 100 of tribes, 100 of customs, 100 of legal traditions, and Mizo follows a very different system. The research paper clearly states the Mizo society is basically patriarchal in nature, where the eldest male member or the husband, being the head of the family, exercise unfettered dominance over his family. In other words, the foundation of the Mizo society was never matriarchal, it was patriarchal. Again, I am a man and this video is not for hating men. We respect all men and what we do for society, and this video is based on the bill and the published paper. The family revolved around the male head, property belonged to men, decision-making power rested with men, inheritance favored men. Women worked extensively with households and communities, but they had very little authority over family assets. The paper notes that women carried responsibilities but had virtually no say in the family and had no rights over the family property. This distinction is crucial. A woman being socially active does not automatically mean she possesses equal legal rights, and nowhere was the inequality more visible than in property ownership. For generations, Mizo society was governed not by modern status but by customary law. These customs evolved over centuries and shaped every aspect of life: marriage, divorce, family structure, inheritance, property rights. According to the paper, customary law functioned as an accepted social code that regulated behavior and social relationships. But these customs were far from gender neutral. The paper points out that discrimination against women was deeply embedded within traditional Mizo society. Women rarely participated in decision making and were largely excluded from positions of authority. In fact, traditional saying reflected these attitudes. One popular saying suggested that a woman's wisdom could not extend beyond the village spring. Another compared a woman's word to something that should not even be counted. These proverbs reveal how society viewed women at that time. The result: women were expected to contribute but not to control. Women were expected to work but not to own. Women were expected to obey marry, but not to inherit. Again, this video is based on the paper, not to demean the state or its culture. Now let's examine perhaps the most important question: who actually owned property? The answer under traditional Mizo customary law was simple: the man. The paper cites verse 178 of Mizo customary law, Pa be pa berchu ro neituani, meaning the patriarch is the owner of property. Property inheritance overwhelmingly favored male heirs. According to the paper, property naturally developed upon the son, and only in the absence of sons could daughters be considered. Well, this is happening in many other states also. It's just not Mizoram, but yeah, here today we are talking about Mizoram. Think about what this means. A daughter could spend her entire life contributing to a household, yet legally her claim remained secondary. The paper further explains that Mizo women had little thing or no right in the matters of succession, inheritance, and family often preferred a male heir to continue lineage and leadership. Even the order of inheritance reflected this hierarchy. The youngest son who cared for the parents usually inherited the family property. Only when sons were absent could daughters inherit. And this was not simply a tradition, it was institutionalized inequality. The disadvantages faced by women did not end with inheritance. Divorce often left women economic-wise vulnerable. The paper uses the famous Mizo literary work Silverthangi to illustrate this reality. Historically, a husband could simply declare his intention to divorce his wife. A simple statement was often sufficient, and what happens to the woman? In many cases, she left with almost nothing. According to the paper, women generally had no share in family property and could not take back the belongings they had brought into the marriage. Imagine the consequences: years of labor, years of contribution, years of building a family, yet no ownership, no security, no inheritance, no claim. The system treated property as belonging to the husband's family, not to the couple jointly. This was perhaps the strongest example how patriarchal customs translated into economic inequality. Everything began to change with one landmark legislation, the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act 2014. The paper described this act as a major turning point that was welcomed by women organizations because it challenged many discriminatory aspects of customary law. For the first time, wives gained inheritance rights. Some major reforms included: Reform 1. The wife of the family head became entitled to an equal share of property along with sons. Reform 2. Unmarried daughter who supported parents and siblings as primary breadwinners became eligible for shares equivalent sons and mothers. Reform 3. If there were no sons, property could be divided among the surviving wife and unmarried daughters. Reform 4. Married daughters could inherit if there were no surviving wives or unmarried daughters. Reform 5. Women gained rights to portion of acquired property in certain divorce sections. For the first time in Mizo legal history, women were recognized not merely as family members but as stakeholders, and this was a monumental shift. However, the story doesn't end here. The same paper also offers a powerful criticism. Despite reforms, some provisions continue to favor men. For example, if a woman dies before her husband, her personal property automatically devolves to him. But when a husband dies, the widow faces conditions. She must remain a chaste widow. She must continue caring for minor children, and in certain situations, she may need consent from her children to be recognized as the head of the family. Notice the difference. The man inherits automatically. The woman inherits conditionally. This is precisely why the author argued the act still contains implicit patriarchal biases. As the paper concludes, if conditions are necessary, they should apply equally to both genders. Again, I want to remind you, this video is purely based on the published paper and on the bill. This does not demean the state and has no intention to demean the cultural identity or the people of the state. So, is Mizoram a matriarchal society? The evidence suggests otherwise. Mizo women have long been visible, hardworking and central to society. But visibility is not the same as power. For generations, customary law placed property, inheritance and authority firmly in male conditions. In 2014 Act brought important reforms. It gives wives and daughters rights that were previously unimaginable. Yet the research paper reminds us the legal system still contains traces of patriarchal thinking. The story of Mizo women's inheritance right is there, not a story of complete equality. It is a story of transition, a journey from exclusion towards inclusion, from custom towards right, and perhaps from patriarchy towards a more equal future. Again, at last, we had no intention to demean the Mizoram state, cultural identity, or any gender, men or women both. This is simply based on the published paper. Thank you so much.